Coming to you from my bathroom, ready to open a box. It actually has 2 reptiles inside, and it's obviously really exciting, but I'm really nervous. I have never had either of these animals shipped to me before, like this species. I just want them to be okay. They literally just got here. I'm just really nervous. Like, I've been up since 5 a.m. So, first up is a ball python. Which, if you watch me for any length of time, you'll know that I don't keep ball pythons. Shit. Sorry, I'm like sleep deprived on top of like having stress. So let's go over the ball python first. So Be Wild Rescue, I'm sure you're all familiar with their incredible work. They took in a bunch of bearded dragons, which is the other reptile, spoiler alert. They took in a bunch of bearded dragons from a hoarding case that were being kept really horribly, and a lot of them needed a lot of work, and I fell in love with, straight from the jump, one that has musculatory disability that a lot of people call muscular dystrophy for bearded dragons. I know that people are still learning a lot about it, but Chihiro has it, and it's not something that can be cured, and I knew as soon as I saw her I wanted her. I love bearded dragons, I love special needs reptiles, and it also turns out that they called her Chihiro, which is the name of the character from Spirited Away, and my blue-tongued skink is named Haku from Spirited Away. So that's just perfect. I've been arranged to get her for months now, and then they took in a ball python. Someone bought this snake along with another one and then never picked them up at the FedEx facility. So they were in their container for days, and then they arranged to go collect them, and then they tried to meet up with the person again. It didn't happen. I had really wanted to get a ball python. I was waiting for the reptile room over at my boyfriend Benjamin's house to be finished. And I know I've told you I've never wanted a ball python because I don't want to feed them, but the cool thing is Benjamin likes snakes and he's cool with feeding them. So I get to do all the other fun stuff. I get to clean, I get to decorate the enclosure. And so when they said, hey, we have this snake, like, we don't really want to place for adoption because it's like a fancy morph. We want to see if like anybody that we trust. And I was like, yes, 100%. And of course, this was also Benjamin's choice, and he said yes, 100%. So this is the ball python. I will open this in a moment. I'm probably going to open after I just want to confirm that Chihiro as well. Oh no. She is puffed up, full of air. I wondered if this would happen. She was puffed up when she was first picked up. Just a little cold, just a little chill. It's okay. Very puffed up, very inflated. Well, the good news is they're both alive. Chihiro is little chilly. I'm sure they both are, to be honest, because they just haven't had their proper heat source. My God, she's so little. So when she was first brought into the rescue, she was like really puffed up, like just filled with air. And they think it's just like something she does when she's stressed. So I thought this might be something that fills her up with air. And sure enough, she is puffy. She is full. I'm going to get them situated and coordinate with the rescue and like make sure that they know that they arrive safely. Also ask them like, hey, what should I do about Chihiro being a balloon? Like, is she just gonna deflate on her own time? Oh, the ball python's looking up at me. Oh my God. Hi, honey. She's flicking the tongue really slow. Oh my God. I don't want to move you because you just started to be a little brave. But like, I want people to see your cute face too. So here you can see she's pretty puffed up, but her eyes were completely closed and she was vibing. She's definitely moving around a bit more now, like looking around. But she's a total pancake. Like, she's puffed up. And here's our little snake friend. It's a piebald. It's also a female. Yes, hi, cutie. I've never held a ball python before, so this is gonna be very interesting. Oh, and just so everyone's aware, the ball python will be living at Ben's house. I hope to be moved in by September. That's like the goal. But the reptile room is going to be started before I end up moving in, so I'll be taking care of reptiles back and forth. It's going to be a whole thing, but you know, you do what you got to do. He lives an hour and 10 minutes away, so it's not realistic to travel there every single day. I'm going to get these two situated, and you'll of course see that. I figured I would take footage from the first few weeks of both Chihiro and Ymir's stays here and do some voiceover to tell you about them. So Chihiro was surrendered in October to Be Wild Reptile Rescue with a bunch of other bearded dragons. And if you're interested in learning more about what condition the dragons were in and the situation of their surrender and how they were rehabilitated, Be Wild has that on their Facebook and TikTok pages. Chihiro came into the rescue puffed up, like I mentioned, and with the lack of mobility in her legs. She was seen by the vet, treated for parasites, and tested for adenovirus, and unfortunately she tested positive. Her mobility difference is caused by a genetic condition in bearded dragons that impacts the musculatory system, and is often incorrectly dubbed muscular dystrophy. There is little research on this condition, and it does not have a cure. The cause is theorized to be bad breeding practices or extensive inbreeding. Oftentimes, these bearded dragons live shorter lives and need assistance with shedding and eating. Chihiro does not have metabolic bone disease. I just want that to be clear. There are differences between the two, and I'll make a separate video about that in the future. I knew I wanted her from the moment I saw her out of all the bearded dragons, and given my experience with disabled reptiles, I thought I'd be the right fit, so I reached out and applied to adopt her. We waited for her to respond to her parasite medications and for the weather to be appropriate for shipping. Since being here, Chihiro has been a great eater. There were a couple days she wasn't too fond of her greens, but the majority of her time she is eager to eat, and she loves her insects. She's great at chasing them down despite her mobility differences, and she's had dubia roaches, black soldier fly larvae, and superworms, and she's loved them all. Chihiro has also had her first bath. She's pretty easygoing temperament-wise, but since she's still settling in, I can tell that, especially during her first week, there were times where she was annoyed to see me. Chihiro is in a 4x2x2 Zen Habitats enclosure. I have a link in my bio if you're interested in that type of enclosure, and due to her mobility differences, I will not be moving her into something larger, which I had considered when I adopted her. My blue-tongued skink is in an 8-foot enclosure, so my hope was also to give her, or any other bearded dragon I had, 8 feet, but it's not going to be possible for her. Chihiro can't have a super elaborate enclosure because she can't really climb well, and she gets stuck if things are against the walls or if two decor items are touching to make a corner. I'm still working out in my mind the best way to give her an enriching enclosure while also making it safe and functional, and it also has to be clean. Because she tested positive for adenovirus, the cleanliness of her environment is important. From what I learned online and from the rescue, gastrointestinal issues are pretty common for beardies who test positive because they have weaker immune systems, and they can be more susceptible to parasites, and the parasites can be harder to treat. For the sake of her long-term well-being, she's not going to have substrate or things in the enclosure that cannot be removed or easily cleaned. Most bearded dragons have adenovirus, like the vast majority have it. It's so highly contagious, and a lot of bearded dragons get it from their mothers when they're born, so unless there's another bearded dragon with adenovirus in my future, Chihiro will be my only bearded dragon. I want everyone to rest assured that Chihiro cannot spread her adenovirus to the other reptiles in the house, especially since there's no other bearded dragons, none of them can catch it from her. I also want to state that it is good practice with any reptile that you're keeping to wash your hands before and after interacting with them, and I most definitely do that with Chihiro and anything that goes in or out of her enclosure. As another precaution, I will be taking fecal samples of hers to the vet more often than I would other reptiles just to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Prior to accepting Chihiro, but also like a long time ago when I first learned about this genetic muscular condition, I wanted to learn about how it affects their life and how a person like myself could make a life of a bearded dragon easier. And so I have looked into different supplements, different foods that might help, and some people have recommended allowing the bearded dragon some like supervised swim time because it's a way of helping their muscles that's not too hard on their movements. So if you have any tips about working with disabled bearded dragons, particularly the ones that have this condition, again, which is often called muscular dystrophy, if you have any tips, I would love them down below. And as I learn more about Chihiro and about her condition, I will share that with all of you. I hope to use my platform to help other people who have bearded dragons like this, or even just disabled bearded dragons in general, to be able to give their animals the best quality of life, given that there is such little information about how to take care of bearded dragons with this condition to begin with. And that was Chihiro. I hoped you all loved meeting her and look forward to seeing more of her in the future. Now we're going to talk about the ball python, who Ben and I have named Ymir after the character in Attack on Titan and also Norse mythology. First and foremost, I understand the hype now. Like, I get the ball python hype. From the moment I first saw her, I was enamored. She is precious and so cute beyond words. Like I mentioned earlier, she was purchased and then never picked up at the FedEx facility. The breeder coordinated with Be Wild to have the snakes picked up by the rescue, and then also coordinated like a meetup with the person who purchased them, but then that person was a no-show again. Which, like, if you're counting, that means that Ymir had been at her breeder facility, then she was at a FedEx, then she was at the rescue, then she was shipped to my house, and then we took her to Ben's house. So in her life, she's already had like 5 little places she lived, which is nuts. Ymir is a pied het candy, and that doesn't mean too much to me as I'm not a breeder. To be honest, I always intended on adopting a normal ball python because I think they're beautiful, and that was going to be the first new animal in the reptile room. But this opportunity presented itself, and I thought, though it's earlier than expected, I'm overjoyed. Ymir is currently living at Ben's house, and I see her 3 days a week when I'm there, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. She has had multiple meals, which is the only part of snake keeping I'm put off by, hence how I've only had garters, but I've been there for each of her meals, so it's kind of like I'm feeding her. Here you can see in this clip that she was curious about this rat. We found that she won't eat it if she's under her paper towel, but if she's in her hide, she will, so it's a bit of a learning curve. Speaking of food, we are looking for suggestions for ethically produced feeder rats, and we are located in the Michigan-Indiana area if that helps. If you know of any, I would love suggestions. She is currently in a quarantine enclosure, and I look forward to getting to build her a more naturalistic home. As far as temperament goes, Ymir is great, unless she's under her paper towel. Once she's under that paper towel, she feels a bit bolder, and one night she hissed at Ben when he was trying to clean up her enclosure because she had pooped. And we FaceTime so that I could like talk him through it because this is his first snake, it's his first reptile, so he's just nervous about getting everything right. And I want it to be known that he's doing a good job. She's currently in a 36 by 18 by 18 Doobie Roaches enclosure, and as she grows, she'll be upgraded to an enclosure that is at least as long as her full-grown size. I'm assuming we will give her a 4 or 5 foot enclosure in the future. I look forward to, a while from now, making care information about her because ball pythons are probably the least well cared for reptile in the hobby, and there are so many of them. I really hope to advocate for the proper treatment of these animals, and that's why I was drawn to getting one in the first place. As a final update, after the 3rd week of them being here, Chihiro is an excellent eater. She is having some poop issues though, so I'll have to address those with my vet. And Ymir is actually in shed, so that's been a really interesting thing to experience. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns down below. I'd love to address them. Please subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!